It's the end of the week, and we usually like to recap what's happened on the campaign trail and in Washington. But this week, we really only have one topic to discuss. President Trump has criticized both Democrats and the whistleblower who raised concerns he may have used his office for political gain. In a tweet Friday, the president wrote, "Sounding more and more like the so-called whistleblower isn't a whistleblower at all. In addition, all secondhand information that proved to be so inaccurate that there may not have even been somebody else, a leaker or spy, feeding it to him or her, a partisan operative." So let's bring in Antjuan Seawright and Joseph Pinion. Antjuan is a CBSN political contributor and Democratic strategist, and Joseph is a Republican strategist. So, Antjuan, let's start with you. Democrats, we know, are on recess now. CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe reports that they're being sent home with guidance on how to talk up the recent accomplishments in the impending impeachment fight. So, what kind of message will work for some Democrats and won't work for others?
I think this has to be strictly a national security message. At the end of the day, regardless of the spin the Republicans tried to put on this, the president admitted on live TV and tapes that he asked the Ukraine leader to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. What we know is there was a serious effort to silence the whistleblower, which is a serious violation of statute. And we also know, based on the allegations and several confirmed sources, is that the whistleblower accusations that there was an additional server that this conversation went to is a clear violation of statute. And this goes back to free and fair elections, what obviously happened in the 2016 election when the president does this. That's the message. And furthermore, there will be a twist and a spin by the right to say all Democrats want to do is impeach. But what we know is this is an impeachment inquiry. So it's a simple gathering of information and intel to make a decision. And Congress has a duty and responsibility to provide oversight to the executive branch and serve as checks and balances.
All right. So, Joseph, I'm going to have you respond to that. And I also want to play some of what Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal said earlier at a news conference on impeachment.
Gotcha.
Senators Romney and Sass have said they're very troubled, at the very least. Privately, I think I can say my Republican colleagues appear to be more than troubled. They are deeply concerned about these allegations because they go to the very lifeblood of our democracy.
So Republicans haven't said much. Do you think silence is the best strategy?
Look, I think that there are plenty of Republicans who think that this is alarming. I think that, again, to your point, like I said, the President of the United States stood on the lawn and said to the media that yes, he did withhold aid, and that yes, that was partly, in part, at least in some measure, due to the fact that they wanted to have corruption investigated in Ukraine. So I think that, again, there is a responsibility of Congress to look into that. I think I said earlier this week on this program, I said, look, if the police pull you over and you say, I got a body in the trunk, then now they have a duty to investigate. So I think that that is a realistic approach. Having said that, from a Republican standpoint, I think that what the message is going to be to the constituency is that they started an investigation based off basically looking into what happened with impeachment. They've been dealing with this going back to Mueller, that nothing has happened with the Bob Mueller reports, that they're also not dealing with everything happening as it currently deals with as far as the fact that they launched the investigation without actually reading the transcript. They've cleared Joe Biden without actually having to do anything with actual launching the investigation. So I think that's what Republicans are going to be telling people when they go back to their various constituencies heading back into the recess.
Except what we know is there's been some checks and balances along the way as relates to this inquiry and as relates to these allegations by the whistleblower. What's so scary about this is the president is going out launching an attack on the whistleblower. We know the importance of whistleblowers and being part of the backbone of our democracy and what they've done to get rid of fraud, waste, and abuse in the system. And now the president is jeopardizing that for the future's sake. That's what's so scary about it. And again, the allegations in the report have been serious enough to be investigated by the Inspector General, by the way, Trump appointed, to move further. So I don't think we can put water on this fire that's starting to become a little hotter as it relates to these allegations.
I know we've heard a lot of critics and a lot of Democrats who are saying, do not attack the whistleblower. He went through the right avenues in order to issue this complaint. Joseph, I want to bring it back to you, though. What should Democrats who are not Joe Biden be taking away from this situation?
Well, I think, again, Democrats have basically settled on a message that resonates with people who already believe that Donald Trump is the devil or already believe that he is unfit for office. And I think that what Democrats have not understood from the beginning of this impeachment process, when we started with the Mueller reports to even now, is that there are large swaths of Americans who simply want, in those 10 minutes of quiet time before their spouse or their children come crashing through the door, to be able to explain to them what exactly is going on. And I think that, again, when you start talking about the fact that most people do not have the latitude to be able to sit there and necessarily go through 2 volumes of a Mueller report, much less a 5-page transcript. And now, because Democrats are so obsessed with the incompetence of Republicans, that they've actually gone and released the 1-page, GOP talking points that were released by the White House, and they've actually plastered that on every corner of the internet and every media outlet. And so there are actually Americans right now who are actually more abreast with the talking points from the GOP than they are with the actual 5-page transcript that came out of that conversation with the president in Ukraine. So I think that those are things that, I think Democrats haven't taken into account as far as how do you have a message that actually resonates with people that don't already agree with you.
National security is the message, and the fact that we have to have free and fair elections beyond the era of Donald Trump is a message. And it's what I wrote on March 26th of this year, that Democrats, if they want to be successful, have to investigate and legislate. What we're doing under the umbrella of impeachment inquiry is doing our duty and responsibility of investigating. You still see Democrats legislating at the same time. Unfortunately, his party's Republican Senate have just parked the car on any piece of legislation that comes their way, even if majority of the American people believe in it, think it's a good idea. And that's the unfortunate scenario and situation of our politics. And now we heard earlier this week that the White House has simply instructed the Senate to not do anything further, even on an issue like guns, that has dominated the conversation and dominated homes all across this country for some time now.
Look, I think that the American people realize that the people in D.C. are not getting anything done. I think that's a pox on both houses. I don't think that necessarily that Republicans are going to be held solely responsible. And in my party particularly, I've said for many years that Republicans have been obsessed with talking about that they want to have black people vote Republican. I said just as long as they never actually have to speak to a living, breathing Democrat, which is a problem because the majority of black people are Democrats. And conversely, right now, Democrats are obsessed with trying to get people to march towards impeachment just as long as they never have to convince a single Republican voter or an elected GOP official. And so to my earlier point again, the problem that Democrats face is that they consistently try to talk about things in a manner that actually agrees with the people who already wanted Donald Trump impeached before he got in office. And I hear you talking about national defense, which I believe is also a major issue. I think that's why you have Ben Sasse and Mitt Romney concerned. But I think the broader issue here is the fact that that is not what many of the members are talking about. What many of the members are talking about is a kind of venomous kind of spirit.
Well, to your earlier point, I think a lot of people, when they come home from work and they're trying to figure out their whole family situation and they're watching the TV and they're seeing this impeachment inquiry going on, and they really just want, I think Democrats and Republicans just want an explanation of what is going on. I think that part can be bipartisan. Antjuan Seawright and Joseph Pinion, thank you.
Thank you.